Welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And now we're talking about our retrospective of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And now here's a little backstory. Now, this is a franchise that is more or less loosely based on the killings of Ed Gein
From Wisconsin
in the 50s. So, if for those of you who don't know, Ed Gein was a killer that was basically he killed two women and skinned them alive and made like a woman's suit out of
them, which is also inspired by Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, the Silence of the Lambs was also inspired by the character Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs was also inspired by by Ed Gein as well.
But Ed Gein also used to make furniture out of bones, which is really brought into the Texas Chainsaw franchise more than anything.
Yeah. So, with the first film, I gotta be honest, I didn't really know the first film even existed until I saw the remake in 2003.
To be fair, this movie was like way before our time. So it's something you had to run into when you're a movie buff type guy, or, you go in your old school, cool video store and you see the front cover of it and you're like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, that's the thing. When I first heard about the remake coming out, I went to Blockbuster and they had keep in mind, I was about probably 11. Yeah. I went into the video store and
I watched them in the 90s when I even was there when 4 came out on video. And 3 came out on video. So,
well, that's the thing. I went into the video store at Blockbuster at the time and I walked in and I seen that they had this really badass cover of Texas Chainsaw Massacre on there. I was like, huh, is that the movie that's in theaters? Okay, let's see the same movie. I go home and I'm like, wait, this isn't the same movie that I saw the previews for. Mm. So, I'm watching it, I'm like, wow, this shit's fucking creepy. So, the first film, for those who don't know, but the first film was directed by Tobe Hooper that took place in the 1970s.
I believe he's from Texas. He's from Texas, I believe. And that's the reason why he brought it to Texas, and he tried to make everybody believe that the killings actually happened in Texas. Because there's rumors going around like, oh my god, I've been to where it really happened. A lot of people get mixed up that it really didn't happen in Texas. It actually happened in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it was just one dude, not a family.
Yeah, so Tobe Hooper directed the first film that came out in 1973, which, if you were to watch the film today, the film, to me, still, to this day after I watched it, still looks fucking scary.
Yeah, it's really creepy. They don't really do a lot of scory type shit on there
because
either.
The film
it's really kind of quieted.
It gives you a more like guerrilla style like filmmaking where it's very authentic, where it gives it like a grainy kind of documentary style.
Yeah.
Which I really love because that gives it the feeling like, oh shit, this shit could actually be real.
And not only that, the movie looks really old looking. I mean, it's got really old characters in this movie.
So, the movie is basically about a group of teenagers that are on a road trip, and they're in a van, and they pick up a hitchhiker who is, like, doing all kinds of crazy shit where they're cutting his wrist and all that, and the film gives us a backstory at the beginning where it's about an alleged family that is robbing graves and stuff. Now, that's as far as we know as far as the backstory. Yeah. And then it cuts to, like, this weird shot of the corpse where it's, like, on top of this grave and all that, and it looks fucking creepy because the way the camera keeps snapping, going, like, those old school cameras they had?
Yeah.
That, to me, still holds up, because that's like, fuck.
It's pretty creepy, yeah.
Yeah. And so now we get into our set of characters, which are your typical kind of, this is kind of in the hippie era. Well, I mean, it was in the 70s, but they're kind of hippies, because
you can still buy their characters versus the type of stereotypes we get today. Mm. Our stereotypes today, I can't stand.
But basically, we have it to where these teenagers are going down the road, and they pick up a hitchhiker, and they're on their way to Texas and all that. I forgot exactly what exactly they were going, but they're going through Texas. And they pick up this.
Aren't they going to concert or something?
I think so. It's in the remake, but I don't know if they were in the original movie. I think they were going somewhere else. But they pick up a hitchhiker who is starting to be like all crazy and shit because he's like taking a picture and all. Or first he slices his wrist and then he takes a picture of her and all that, and then he runs off, and then they leave him there. Or no, they leave him there. They kick him out, and then they go on their way. And then we start to see that the group stop at this house. Well, first they stop on the side of the road, and then they go and the two of them go off into this weird place that is a very, like, kind of old-looking house. Yeah. And even to this day, man, when they show the fucking house, that house still looks creepy.
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they go in this house, and the moment that this happens is we see a guy, one of the guys, Leatherface, all of a sudden pops out of this like secret like basement place.
Basement where it's the homage to that famous metal door.
Yeah,
it just closes and you just hear the slam. Yeah,
yeah, and then he slaps him, bashes him on the head with a mallet, or I'm sorry, it was a hammer. And then when you first see Leatherface, even stay, man, that fucking mask he wears is fucking creepy.
Yeah,
you know, because
it does bring the more creepiness out than you generally will ever get. You only ever get in any of the.
Well, not just that, but the mask he wears is all made of flesh skin, which is even more creepy.
And it's so like practical looking, so authentic that it makes you believe that holy shit, dude, this looks real, like a snuff film.
Yeah, because and also the shots they use where it pans over all the bones and shit, that gives it like a more documentary kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
you know. So basically, the characters get picked off one by one, with the exception of Sally, who, with her brother, they're going through the forest and everything, and her brother gets killed off for the only time we see the chainsaw, because throughout the film, you don't really see Leatherface actually killing people with chainsaws, with the exception of her brother, who's in a wheelchair. Yeah. So, as the film goes on, you start to see that she's trying to survive the night, and what I really love, and lo and behold, I really love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that to this day, I still find the movie fucking creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty much the most authentic creepiness you would get out of all the franchises. I mean, the rest of them start becoming fun and other shit. They just do other stuff with this, but this is like the most snuffy film. It feels like
Glass House on the Left, where it has that really like kind of low quality shot, but it still gives that authentic feel of it.
Yeah, like it's real, like it's fucking realistic and shit,
which I really appreciate.
And they keep a lot of score down in this film. They don't really use score much.
The only time they really use any kind of score is like when it shows parts of the bones and stuff, or like when it has the dinner scene. Which that dinner scene in the stage creeps the fuck out of me.
Yeah, where they're actually looking like they're fucking really eating. They're going in detail of eating.
Yeah, because they're actually cannibals.
Yeah, and the other films, they don't really cover much of the really eating part. Mm-hmm. But that one, And then they had the old grandpa in that one.
Where you think he's actually just a regular, like, gas station attendant, where he's actually a cook, and he realized he's part of the family.
Well, no, I'm talking about the grandpa from part 2.
Oh, yeah.
That one, yeah.
Well, yeah, you got the grandpa where I'm kind of confused. Is he an actual corpse, or is he just like...
I'm wondering if they're so fucking nuts in the head that they can't come to terms he's dead. But he moves in, like, the movies.
Yeah.
So I really don't know. I'm guessing he's so old.
And he just can't really move too well. But that, basically, it ends with the final, like, the signature where we see on all the DVD covers where Leatherface is putting his chainsaw in the air and shit, where he's doing the famous, like, chainsaw dance and all that. Yeah. Where he's kind of twirling around and shit like that. And that scene where the hitchhiker gets, like, fucking, gets killed by that truck, that scene is fucking brutal. Yeah. You know? But yeah, lo and behold, the first film, I'm going to give it probably a 10, probably 9.75 out of 10. There's probably like a couple of cheesy moments they have in the film. Like the scene with they have with, like at the very beginning with the hitchhiker, where he's kind of like fucking with him and all that, I thought was kind of cheesy, but I mean, it's still a great fucking horror movie. Yeah. You know?
I'm going to go 9 out of 10. Yeah. I still love the authentic look to it. It still holds up to this day. And it's very rare you see a movie from the early 70s still holding up. Yeah. I mean, and it feels like a snuffy, like, realistic film. Like somebody was actually shooting scenes and getting off on people getting slaughtered and shit. So it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, between this and the next movie, Tobe Hooper basically...
This was a big distance, wasn't it?
This was a big... Yeah, it was about almost a decade. Actually, as far as I know, I believe it was actually 13 years. Because the next film, believe it or not, didn't come out until 86. Yep. So this was a big decade, long gap between films. So... Yep. The next film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, we have Tobe Hooper coming back to direct. And this film...
This one stars Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper and Catherine... I think it was... I forgot her last name. Catherine something. Yeah. But anyway... I'm sorry, Caroline Williams. Yeah. Caroline Williams and Bill Moseley. And company. So basically, this film this was a pretty big... This was like a different kind of film when it came out. Because basically what happened was, when the film came out, this movie got bashed by critics.
Yeah.
By saying, like, it was completely inept and didn't have none of the flow like the original film. But, to this day, it's getting a hell of a cult following.
Oh, God, cult following. Not to mention, we might actually see a co-iconic killer in this film. Chop Top, which is actually fucking solely underused because, yet again, he's only used in one movie. But, we'll get to that later. But, this character I hear is so catchy. And it's really funny because Texas Chainsaw is really infamous for this. We get Chop Top, likable character. We get Arlie Emery is a likable character in his. It's like they create like characters that we like aside from Leatherface.
Yeah.
That we want to see more often. But we don't get the whole feel of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, the film basically begins, and you can tell, because I think what the problem is with a lot of people that when it came out time, the movie is very tonally different from the first film. Because tonally, this film mixes a lot more comedy into it than the first film did. Yeah. Because this one, it literally starts with two guys that are on the highway acting all stupid and shit, and they're saying a bunch of...
We're gonna party!
Big live and big titties!
And then we get... Catherine's character,
Caroline Williams' character, Stretch.
Yeah, Stretch. And Stretch plays a radio station DJ who pretty much is, DJing, and then she keeps getting these calls, but these guys are harassing her. And they're just fucking with her, like, yeah, we're going to party. Yeah. They're a bunch of two little rednecks and shit. But then they run into Leatherface,
who's on the highway with them.
Chop Top, while on radio station. And this scene was pretty fucking brutal, where he slices that
dude's head and it cuts him in half,
and then like it shows his brain just squirting.
Yeah,
practicals. You would think that fucking what's his face got involved in this film?
Tom Savini.
It looked like a Tom Savini artist.
Yeah, those practical effects
they look like Tom Savini.
Yeah,
yeah.
And plus it was also kind of threw me off at first. I was like, wait, is there another Leatherface? Because at first it shows like a weird dude with like a chainsaw. I'm like, wait, is there another Leatherface? But then you realize it's a fucking corpse. Like, holy shit! Yeah. It's actually Leatherface holding the corpse the whole time.
Yeah, the whole corpse. And he's like, this one, they're kind of like being kind of silly, but it's still doable.
Yeah, because the humor still works.
Yeah, the humor still works. So we get to
Dennis Hopper, basically what happens is
she recorded the video, so she plays it to Dennis Hopper's character,
who's actually the uncle of Sally from the first one.
Yeah, which is the uncle of Sally from the first one, and basically because she couldn't get his attention, she plays on the radio station again, and that kind of and Leatherface, Chop Top, and the grandpa is in this film,
and also the cook.
The grandpa and the cook, fucking hears the tape being played, and he wants Leatherface and Chop Top to handle it and kill her. And basically that gets to the scene, and this is the scene I fucking love, because it's
where we get introduced.
To be honest with you, without the killings or anything, really, in this scene, it is still my favorite.
One of the most best openings of a character, or best introductions of a character I've seen, where you have Bill Moseley playing Chop Top in his introduction, and he's like, hey, you're my fave. You're my fave. It's like, I listen to your play.
You got any 70s records?
Yeah. He's like, can you play that Inagata Vegeta and all that? He's got where he's basically first you're kind of thrown off because first he's wearing like this kind of like wig that you don't know until later in the scene, but he's wearing this like black wig that he wears,
and he's sitting there with the coat hanger, fucking
like kind of twigging at it,
and shit, and yeah.
And then after it's revealed that because what's cool is that he sets up where he's trying to get a tour and everything in the shop or in the radio station. It later, like right when they're talking in mid-sentence, Leatherface fucking comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, what's in here?" Yeah, and then fucking Leatherface comes in. Well, Leatherface accidentally hits Chop Top. This is the funny part. This is when they kind of mix comedy, and unlike some films like Freddy's done in his later films, this is actually doable comedy. This is enjoyable. Well, Leatherface accidentally hits Chop Top in the head, and like fucking Chop Top was like, Leatherface, you bitch! You
Yeah.
fucked my Sonny Bono ass.
And then he starts taking his coat hanger and starts like lighting it, and then start picking at his metal plate and then his head.
He goes, "You're gonna pay for that."
Because what we realize that we're kind of assume is that Chop Top actually served in the Marines in the Vietnam War,
and he got injured in the Marines.
Yeah.
And he's relations with the guy who's in the first one.
Yeah, because it shows him actually pulling, dragging, or it was either him or Leatherface that was dragging the hitchhiker from the first.
Well,
movie.
the hitchhiker is actually both of them are using it because in the where at the beginning where they get the rednecks, Leatherface is using the hitchhiker, and later in the films when we get to it, he we're like during that little tunnel thing, that little fucking like amusement park thing. Well, now Chop Top is wearing. Hitchhiker.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And that's supposedly his brother.
Yeah, I think it was his. Yeah, he was part of the family. It was his brother.
That is Chop Top's brother. We later find out that Chop Top was the hitchhiker's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as the film progresses, you start to also get introduced to Dennis Hopper's character, Lefty, who is the uncle of Sally from the first movie. And I'll tell you right now, this is probably my favorite Dennis Hopper performances, because this guy, he is going on the verge trying to get down, get payback for the ones that killed his nephew in the first movie.
Well, what we get to learn about Dennis Hopper's character is he's actually been tracking them down for many years, over decades, looking for these guys. And basically, when he's drawn attention by Stretch, he meets her up, and they meet up, and he pretty much is, all right, I'm getting convinced, all right, we got to find them and stuff. And he shows up at all these Texas murders, and that's been going on over these years, and pretty much every sheriff knows who he is. And we actually see, like, him psychologically fucked in the head because of his niece.
Yeah.
So we see scenes where, like, I love that part where he goes to that chainsaw store and he's, like, testing them all out. And he walks out, like, 10 fucking chainsaws. He hands them, like, thousands and thousands of dollars and he just walks out.
Yeah, I love that scene. And I also, what I love, too, is that Dennis Hopper, no matter what role he plays, well, this is, kind of the early years of Dennis Hopper. Every role he plays, he always has a lot of fun with his character, you know?
He does. He seemed like he really had fun with this film.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed him. I really did. I thought he was awesome in this film.
Yeah.
Especially when we get later in the film where he actually finds out their lair. That was even fun, yeah.
So as the film progresses, you're starting to see that Stretch basically gets kidnapped by the Leatherface and company, and they're basically Lefty finds them in the final.
Well, which is pretty cool because they're at this amusement park. Mm-hmm. They're hiding out. And before we talk about this scene, I did like how the cook has actually been killing people, and he's actually feeding the Texas. He's feeding Texas his barbecue. He's actually feeding Texas human people. Mm-hmm. Like, the meat is all human, and they're all they actually nominate him like the best cook and all that shit. And they're like, "What's in your meat?" And he's like, not even trying to like be clever and telling them and shit. You know.
Yeah.
He says some clever lines, like kind of like hinting I'm cutting people up, but I'm not. You don't believe me, so.
Yeah, and then there was also there was a deleted scene that I seen on the DVD where they had Joe Bob Briggs from Monster Vision actually show up in this scene where she's talking to this girl, and then there's a scene where Leatherface and company actually show up at this protest place where they're actually killing the people that are trying to like protest and all that. Yeah. And this scene was cut because I guess for like budget issues or something. Because in this scene you're seeing a lot of like people getting slaughtered and shit. Yeah. And you see it was a funny part where Joe Bob Briggs is like saying where he's giving a positive like remark. He's like I'm giving it 9 out of 10. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So it was cool seeing him in that lead scene. But you also have the final climax that takes place where Dennis Hopper and goes down, and he has like the double chainsaw duel with Leatherface. Yeah, like, I am the.
So they go to this like artificial place that they're hiding at, and that's where like and it's a pretty cool. I remember that place kind of was like creepy, but it also reminded me off of like Pee-wee's.
It did, yeah.
That whole like where the animals in the deserty type things. It did look like that, like that Pee-wee place where Pee-wee woke up. Yeah, that one girl with the dinosaur and all that. That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, then you get like more like detail, like where like. They have her captured, and that's where Dennis Hopper shows up, and they go in this big-ass fucking war. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know, man. I really like the comedic lines where he gets him in the gooch in the ass.
Yeah.
The cook, like,
Yeah, I love that part. I also love the chainsaw duel he has with him and Leatherface when they're going at it.
Yeah, that was cool. And, I mean, I enjoyed for what it was. And I do like Stretch versus Chop Top.
Yeah.
Fight. Yeah,
I do like that one as well.
And they actually had the granny in that scene where she's dead.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you remember? The grandma of the family is actually in there, and she actually breaks Grandma on accident, or uses Grandma to fight Chop Top, and he breaks Grandma, and Chop Top's like, "You bitch! You killed Granny!"
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene.
And that's when they go at it and shit, and then, like, there's that one scene where Stretch kind of, like, pretty much is down on the ground, and he's sitting there slicing razor blades and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And he's getting her, cutting her up, and she's trying to start the, like, lawnmower, and then she knocks him down, and he falls off the cliff, and
then
kind of dies, I guess.
Well, we get the impression because Lefty, Dennis Hopper's character, throws a grenade, which kills both not only the cook but also Leatherface.
Yeah, kills them. So basically, we're seeing a movie where Leatherface isn't the final battle; it's Chop Top. And Chop Top, after being defeated, we get this ambiguous ending where she's actually becoming them. Where she's sitting there, ah!
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then the movie ends abruptly. But for what it was, for what it was shot,
I
fucking love this movie. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna come out here and say it. I'm gonna admit it. I one of the few people that might actually put this a tiny bit over 1. I really loved it that much.
I do love 2, don't get me wrong, but I still love 1. Mainly because, well, for one, not just because it's a classic, but also because I love the auticity they did in the first one. Yeah. The second one I still love, don't get me wrong. I still put it ring above
the only thing, because I can say that I complain about is I thought it was too short.
Yeah, it did kind of run a little bit too quick. But for what they did with the comedy and how they mixed it, I thought it worked really perfect.
And Chop Top... The fuck? How did this guy did not get other movies?
Yeah.
This guy should have been like... Could you imagine Chop Top, Arlie Emery, and Leatherface in the film as a trio?
That would be awesome.
Dude, that would be like... I would come in my fucking pants if that ever happened.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, oh my god. They need to do that, man. They need to revive that shit again and bring Chop Top and maybe Arlie Emery.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sheriff Hoyt.
Maybe they could render it to where he could, like, reboot it again and have him play, like, the cook. You have him playing the cook, and then Chop Top, and then, oh my god, that would be fucking, oh my god, that'd be brilliant. Dude, that is such masterpiece that is sitting out there rotting away. But me, I'm a 9.5 out of 10 with 2.
Yeah, I'm about probably a 9 out of 10, or it's a 9 out of 10 for me, because there were some things I was a little drawn off, because I like the seriousness they did with the first one, but it's still a fun movie, don't get me wrong. I fucking love the second one.
I love this one, man.
So,
but I just thought, the only problem I had, like I said, was it was too short, and they kind of rushed through it. It was like a really quick movie. That was my only downfall.
Yeah. Well, now we get to Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which basically was trying to be... I guess you could say it's a reboot, but at the same time, it's more of a sequel. Yeah. Because basically what happens is...
we got Vigio.
Well, I was going to say this. A little backstory. Yeah. Now, New Line Cinema got a hold of the rights, much like they did with the Friday the 13th franchise. They got a hold of the rights to this one. New Line Cinema got a hold of the rights to this one, and basically what we're seeing is a really butchered-ass fucking movie. Yeah. This film was so cut severely by New Line Cinema that there was a lot of scenes you can tell were very obviously cut out. Yeah. Where they didn't go into too detail with, and there was a lot of parts where they kind of could elaborate more on, but they didn't get it.
But you could tell by the way they were going, it had potential.
It did, yeah. So basically, the movie is trying to be kind of a continuation of 2, but also it's doing its own thing.
It is, because it really doesn't elaborate Chop Top or any of them. Yeah. Basically, the family's back alive again. It's like, all right, Chop Top... All right, the cool thing about 1 and 2 is you could feel the continuity, the storyline fits. People who died in part 1 as far as the family, and there's only three of them left. And then now this one's like, okay, now the family, now you can tell these are just your standard 80s 90s film that don't go by continuity per se.
Yeah, so the third one basically has
Viggo.
Well, it has Viggo Mortensen in his early role, and you also have
dude from Halloween.
Ken Foree.
Yeah, Ken Foree. Yeah,
and you have this couple that are going through Texas, and they come at this gas station where which much like the first one, they get into some shenanigans with a gas station attendant where he's dealing with his own shit with Viggo Mortensen, who's like spying on the girl and shit.
Yeah,
and they get into a car wreck that happens, and they realize that they're being stalked by Leatherface and all the crew. So I'll be whole, like, this film is not bad. It's just that it's not up to par with like the first two movies because it does have some issues with some of the family members. But I do like the film. I do.
Viggo was creepy.
Viggo Mortensen was awesome
in this film, and the fact that all right. That's what's so special about all these fucking movies. Could you imagine if we were to do a Texas Chainsaw with Viggo, Leatherface, Chop Top, Arlie Emery, and Matthew McConaughey? That would be the ultimate fucking Chainsaw movie.
Yeah. So basically, what happens?
It's just it's a movie with good performances. Got some gore, especially when they're slicing that one dude over that bucket and shit, and they're fucking with that girl, which is Renee Zellweger, right? No, that's the fourth one.
Yeah, basically, it's got some good gore in it. It's just that, like, I thought myself, like, the only thing I really liked going for the film was I love Ken Foree because I thought, like, the way that he's a survivalist, where he's surviving out in the woods and shit. Yeah, I love that he's doing that.
I love that battle with him and Leatherface in that water.
Yeah,
and then Leatherface, unfortunately, cuts through him and kills him. Yeah.
Well, and also we have the banter with Viggo Mortensen and his brother, where he's fucking with them back and forth.
Yeah, I did like Viggo and Ken's little kind of like batter to each other, like. And he's kind of like I guess you could say Viggo is playing really good redneck.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah.
And that's a guy from New York.
Yeah, like he can play like, he's like almost like you think he wants to use the N-word, like, I'm going to kill you, black boy.
Well, what's funny is, I'll give you my highlight of the film, that honestly, I love the guy who has like the bandana over his head, and he's carrying the body, he's like, do my motherfucker.
Yeah.
Gonna do. I love that dude. I do like that dude.
Yeah. It was not bad. It has its, like, potential. It just, 80s films, they got a hold of just, straight to video-ish type feel to it. And
I did kind of think the little girl was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, in some parts. But here's what I think, though. I think the movie probably could have done better a little bit if they would have had the longer version, because there's a work print version they released where it shows that it's established that Viggo Mortensen's character is actually bi, because there's a scene where he has like a painted fingernail, and you kind of get the idea that he's bisexual and that he likes men and women.
Yeah. And
they also go into more detail that the girl that's in the film is actually Leatherface's daughter.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
he raped a girl and then had a baby. Yeah.
And you could argue they also go into a little bit more detail of how they go into more brutality when they hang the dude up and he's getting fucking
tortured like hell.
Yeah, I do like that scene.
I did like that. Where they're cutting him open over that bucket.
Yeah,
like where all the shit falls in and all that.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was okay. I'm gonna say it's a 6.5 out of 10 for me.
It's about a 6.7, about 6.5 for me as well. It
really drops from 1 and 2 because there's a lot of continuity issues. This is where the continuity starts fucking really destroying itself.
Yeah,
and they're just becoming standard. Just back in the 80s, horror films were notorious about, instead of continuity storyline, just making their own films. There's just a bunch, and just calling them Part 4, Part 5, Part 6. No continuity. They just call them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only continuity you could elaborate is because you notice in the film that Leatherface does have like a brace on his leg. Mm-hmm. You could kind of get the idea that possibly he did survive from the grenade explosion, and that he just got his leg bruised or got his leg broken off or something. But that's really about it. Other than that, they don't go into any other detail besides that. Yeah. You could look at it as its own movie.
Yeah, its own film, but it's 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah. So now we get to here's a little backstory we want to get into. So, between this and the next film, we started to see that New Line Cinema didn't do too well as far as the box office, or didn't do too well with their franchise. So, the film got pushed back. The next film they had on the list was Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which stars Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger in early roles. And this film had a lot of butchering, much like 3 did, where the studio had a different film in mind, where they had a lot of editing issues, and they cut a lot of scenes that didn't go into any detail in the final cut. And pretty much what you had was a film that was very butchered. That was very butchered by the studio, and turned out to be probably my least favorite of the original 4 movies.
Yeah, it was my least favorite. Even though Matthew McConaughey was so fucking brutal. And like I said, that is what is so weird about the Texas Chainsaw franchise. Every fucking movie creates a iconic character.
Yeah.
You can't capitalize with the whole movie itself. So what you do is you take Chop Top, like I said, and all them, and you put them all. Matthew McConaughey was another one I would put it in part of this.
So basically, this film starts much like it basically starts like your typical Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Didn't it feel kind of like that whole like it had that whole like high school prom night slaughter movie?
Yeah,
that's what it
starts with them. These group of teenagers that are from prom night. They go on this road trip, or they're going down the road, and I gotta admit, man, I was really fine the characters. Besides Renee Zellweger, the rest of the fucking characters I could give 2 shits about.
I know they were
fucking pathetic.
They're pathetic. They're annoying. They're poorly cast.
Well,
yet they don't even elaborate on them enough to even care for.
That's what I'm saying. Like we don't know who the fuck the boyfriend of Renee Zellweger is. We get that annoying fat kind of chubby dude who's talking shit about the other girls. She's like, it's like girls have tits and all that shit. I'm like, dude, fuck. That dude just annoyed the piss out of me.
Yep.
And then you have the girl who's like obnoxious and just really just like, I just thought she should be dead.
So this one, we basically get to like, and this is where like again the continuity is destroyed. Doesn't go by the other movies. We don't even have the cook in this fucking movie or any of them. Basically,
what I heard was the movie was trying to be sort of a remake, but also kind of doing it's basically a standalone film where they intentionally tried to make it as a remake of the first film,
which it still wasn't really much of a remake because it don't even have the family in it. It's McConaughey and fucking Leatherface.
Yeah, so
everybody else is fucking supposedly disappeared, died. So that was my problem. Yeah,
the only hint we get was in the beginning of the film. We see the text crawl where you see that they show the backstory. It's actually, here's what I heard. It's actually a direct sequel to the first film, where it shows the beginning how it says Sally escaped Leatherface, but they said that basically that story was never told or was never actually elaborated on. So they tried to basically say that first film didn't really happen. Yeah. So now they're saying that this film is basically the true sequel to the first film.
Yep.
So now we get it to where the characters are going down the road, they get stuck, and they get lost in the woods, and we get introduced to McConaughey's character, which, out of the film, he is the saving grace, because he is fucking awesome. Now,
if they didn't have him in this film, this movie could have potentially been horrible.
Yeah.
Piece of fucking dog shit.
I tell you right now, McConaughey, in every scene he's in, steals every fucking moment.
Oh, yeah, this is him. In fact, to be honest with you, other than the first Texas Chainsaw, I think that was the last time Leatherface really takes the fucking movie. Because every movie from then on out, he is actually downshadowed.
He's overshadowed by other cool, iconic characters.
Yeah. Chop Top, Arlie Emery, Matthew McConaughey, Viggo.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can keep going on.
That's what I'm saying, because in this one...
And it's weird because Leatherface, even though he's recognized, what is going on with these guys that are not getting recognized?
That's what I'm saying, man. Because in this film, you get McConaughey, who is playing a guy who has like a leg brace similar to how Leatherface did in 3. But in this time, he has like one of those like electric shock things.
Yeah.
Where he's shocking people every time they fuck with them.
Fuck with them. Yeah. And then nowadays he has that thing where he's like, zzz, in here, zzz.
Yeah.
Like he's a fucking robot the whole film.
Yeah. But what I also liked...
Now, this is where also bothered me in this film. the body count is really just
low.
Low.
And what's really butchered is, this is why I kind of wish we could see the original cut. This film, really, if it was released today, this could probably be a PG-13. Because really, other than probably one scene where they kind of hang the girl on like the meat hook, this film is really fucking neutered as far as the body count.
Not only that, ain't this like, would you call this probably the least amount of scenes of Leatherface?
Well, yeah, I mean, other than probably the scene where he kills the two people.
He's really not even.
He's not really in the movie that much.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Matthew McConaughey.
And here's why I also get to a point. Now, I don't mind them doing something like Ed Gein did, but man, they fucking changed Leatherface this one. They turned him into a fucking transvestite.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, what the fuck, man? That kind of takes the whole purpose, because, okay, Leatherface is supposed to be kind of a mentally unstable kind of guy.
Yeah, I just don't buy the whole...
I don't buy the whole fucking transvestite shit.
Well, I feel like that's something they would do in 2016 where we're getting into that whole, like, transy thing, error and all that stuff. Man, that was just a really shitty fucking poor adaptation of.
Now, I'm not against transsexual.
No,
I'm just saying,
do what you want. I don't care either way. You do what you want. It's just like I felt like that film was like a pre-era of knowing that they're going to rub it in our face.
Yeah, it was just weird because, first of all, Leatherface, the whole point is that he takes their skin and puts them over them. I don't buy him putting fucking lipstick on and being like a woman.
No. But other than that, there ain't much you can talk about this film. You know, the 80s, 90s films were pretty much forward. They were quick. They were over with. There's not much you can describe. Well,
that, and I also didn't like the whole... They bring in this weird, like, out-of-place plot point that goes nowhere. This is unexplained at all. Where they elaborate that there's the whole Illuminati involved. I'm like... What the fuck? When did this become sort of a political kind of shit?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, overall, I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 10. If it wasn't for Matthew McConaughey, this film could easily be a 1 out of 10.
Yeah. This film, for me, is probably a 3 out of 10 for me. I love McConaughey, but the rest of the film, I had a lot of fucking problems with. Yeah. And plus the look of it looks weird,
I'm just being nice. 4 out of 10. It could be a lot worse. I could give it a lot worse.
Like I'll give credit. Like McConaughey is great.
Yeah,
I actually do like Renee Zellweger for what she had to work with.
Yeah,
in her early role. But man,
this movie was just overall boring. Other than Matthew McConaughey,
and you got to understand too, when this film came out, McConaughey and Renee Zellweger actually planned to, because this film was released when A Time to Kill and Jerry Maguire were coming out in the 90s.
Which Time to Kill is like a fucking Oscar-winning movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, these films were coming out to cash in on the success of their careers. So when the film was getting ready to come out, because it got delayed for a couple of years. So when this film came out, McConaughey and Renee Zellweger planned to actually tried to sue the producers or the filmmakers, because they realized that was their first movie and all, but they felt like because of their success, they felt they wanted to disjoint themselves as much as possible from the movie.
Yeah.
So I can see them doing that, but I don't think it was that bad on their part.
No, their performances are actually, believe it or not, you know, if they ever want to watch YouTube films, I love you guys' performances. It wasn't your fault, and Matthew McConaughey, if you ever listen to this, I would like for you to be in that role again, where you're actually with Viggo and Chop Top and all them. I think you did well. It's not your fault. It's the fucking director, the writing, the direction of this film. It's nothing against you. You did awesome. I would love to see you in another Texas film.
Yeah, but overall, I'd say it's my least favorite of the movies.
It's
still watchable.
It's my worst. It's my worst of the original 4 franchise.
Yeah, it's still watchable, but it's still quite a downstep.
Yeah,
we're taking a break right now. We'll be back with part 2 of Retrospective coming soon. We'll see you guys later.
All right.